Hey, happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus for a look at your Colorado weather forecast on this Tuesday, January the 23rd. I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi, and today, another kind of carbon copy of what we saw yesterday. Maybe a bit more sunshine today compared to yesterday for us here in Denver. Highs in the low 50s, and after last week and the week before, we will take this, right? I mean, it was awesome. I went for a run this morning. Not bad at all for the end of the month of January, and it's going to stay generally on the mild side as we head over the next few days. We could get even warmer into next week with some 60s possible for us by the middle part of next week. But in the mountains, still some snow showers. In the eastern plains, maybe some fog for tonight. And we will get some more significant mountain snowfall in the picture for Thursday and Friday. Those are my kind of top line headlines at this point. This is a look at the Loveland ski area, and basically all the mountain resorts picking up a couple of feet of snow over the last 10 days to 2 weeks or so, and that means that those slopes looking a lot healthier than they were a couple weeks ago. It was rough going up there in the high country. I can tell you that firsthand. I've done plenty of skiing so far this winter. It was a little rough up there before that recent run of storms, and things looking a lot better on the slopes on this Tuesday, January the 23rd. Here in Denver, looking A-okay as well. Lots of sunshine. As I mentioned, we're already well into the 40s, and we're heading into the low 50s for this afternoon, maybe even the mid 50s, similar to yesterday. We got up to 55 yesterday. Might do that again today. So it's mild again. Highs of the 50s for us. Mountain snow. With a few more snow showers possible for this afternoon. Nothing overly widespread, and it looks a little lower impact than yesterday's snow showers, but again, still a few of those around. And this is an overall mild and kind of quiet pattern through Thursday. In Denver, that quiet pattern continues into next week. For the mountains, Thursday and Friday, we're going to get some pretty widespread snow, and then things kind of quiet down for next week for the mountains as well. So temperatures right now, this is kind of the main story where we're on the mild side for us in Denver. Just the far eastern plains, though, Ray, Sterling, stuck in the 30s there, and that is thanks to some cloud cover and some fog out on the eastern plains. In the mountains, kind of ironic that places like Buena Vista, Saguache warmer than Ray. That is, again, different air mass, and of course in those colder valleys, you got Middle Park there, Kremling at 18 degrees, and the Gunnison River Valley, Gunnison at 19 right now. So some of those typical geographical differences, but Ray, that is due to cloud cover, same with Lamar and Sterling, and then the mountains. Overall, lots of sunshine right now. Closer look in here at the metro area, again, pretty nice for this time of year. Fort Lupton, that is probably just a low point in terms of those temperatures. I wonder if there's something wrong with that sensor. I think that may be off, just to be transparent. I don't think it's 30 degrees in Fort Lupton right now. If so, it'd be a very localized little drainage wind of some sorts, but you don't really need to know about that. That's just me going down a nerdy rabbit hole. 46 at the airport, 41 downtown, A-okay everywhere for this time of year. For today, low 50s, 52 seems about right for that high. For this afternoon, we've kind of done fairly well in terms of those temperatures the last couple of days. I'm kind of tempted to bump that to 53, 54, but for now, we'll leave that at 52. Again, the difference between 52 and 54, you probably won't feel that all that much. It's gonna be a nice day out there. And more importantly, the winds are light. Often when we get into the 50s this time of year, I'm actually gonna go back to this for a quick second. Normally when in the 50s this time of year, there's usually a bit of a downsloping wind event that is involved. And so it's usually at least breezy, but the winds are super light right now, and kind of got an unusual pattern in place. And now we can kind of skip ahead here. The reason why we got some of these kind of pockets of snow showers across the state is we've got a general trough low pressure. What that means is you might have noticed there was some patchy frost out there this morning. I know here in Denver, I had to kind of clear up my my windshield from some of that frost, and I'm sure some of you did as well. And frost isn't that common this time of year, especially when we kind of dip down right around freezing. Got a lot of moisture in the air. Our dew points measure the amount of moisture in the atmosphere fairly high, and that is due to this kind of general trophy pattern that we got in place. Point being is it means that our temperatures aren't dropping that low at night. That's allowing those temperatures to rebound quite nicely during the day. And that also means, again, it's a bit more, I guess, humid. You're not thinking, going outside right now thinking it's humid, but there's a bit more moisture this time of year than you might expect. And that also means that those winds are fairly light as well. So kind of all plays together. Point being, this is kind of a nice 52 for today. Probably feels more like a 58, 59 kind of deal. But here across the Northeast Plains, we have a few flakes overhead. Those dissipating right now. They're out in Logan County. I'm not sure a ton of that's reaching the ground. If so, you're talking about a flake or two. No impacts to the roads. I-76 A-OK. I wouldn't worry about the roads out there. Even bridges and overpasses should be fine right now. Mountain snow showers for today, inch or less of accumulation. These will be similar to yesterday's, and since we got the time here, we got the gift of time, and I've got the gift of gab here on 90s Plus. The mountain snow showers that we're seeing today are caused by the same process that leads to summertime showers and thunderstorms. It's what we call convective activity. The heating of the day. I mentioned how it's relatively humid for this time of year for us over Colorado. Again, you're not walking outside thinking it's humid. I think you get my point. There's a lot of moisture at the surface. And when you get some of that heating of the day, that allows those showers, those snow showers, to develop. So again, it's kind of that popcorn sort of flare up, and then at night, once you lose the sun and the heating of the day, those snow showers dissipate as well. But notice kind of on the eastern plains, kind of little curls of some of that of cloud cover. That will be some fog that moves back in overnight, and I would expect dense fog advisors to be reissued for the far eastern plains for tonight and into tomorrow. So just keep in mind, if you're joining us from, I would say, kind of Akron, La Junta, maybe Fort Morgan, but maybe not quite even as far west as Fort Morgan, but Fort Morgan, Akron, La Junta on east, you may deal with some fog tonight. And so keep that in mind if you're driving on I-70 or I-76 east of Denver overnight. So you may be dealing with some patchy fog out there. Remember to use those low beams in the fog. Snow forecast. Again, this is what we're expecting for today. I mentioned yesterday I thought there was a higher possibility for getting a couple inches in a few spots. Did see that in a couple locations, but I think we're likely looking at a widespread inch or less of accumulation from today's event. It's not going to be a big deal for today. For tonight, drop down to mid-20s for us here in Denver. Patchy fog east, and as of today, we have gained over 30 minutes of sunlight since winter solstice, so yay for us. Sunset at 5:07. Tomorrow, 49 degrees for us here in Denver. Just a tick cooler compared to today for us here in town. Just going to get just a little bit of that cold air draining. That means we'll be probably a little bit cooler tomorrow compared to today. Doesn't really matter. Again, lots of sunshine, light winds. That's kind of what matters. If that wind is blowing at 15, 20, 25 miles an hour, it doesn't matter if it's 50. But if it's nice and light wind like it will be today and tomorrow, it feels pretty nice, doesn't it? Next storm, it's going to be too far south for big impacts. This is mostly a Arizona, New Mexico kind of event, but we're going to get some mountain snow in the picture. And the kind of good news is we're going to get the mountain snow in the part of the state that needs it the most. The central and northern mountains got blasted with that snow. We got, widespread 2 to 5 feet of snow for us along and north of I-70 from the West Elks on north from that storm last week and the week before. The southern mountains got some snow, but they didn't get nearly as blasted as the central and northern mountains. Point being, this should be a fairly decent, kind of light to moderate snow event for our southern mountains. For the San Juan, Sangre Crystals, we'll get some snow into the I-70 corridor as well. Not as much, not a big deal for us, but I think Crested Butte on south is going to get a pretty decent little, I don't know, hopefully a 6-inch plus kind of event, but certainly a widespread 3 to 6, 4 to 8 inches for us in the higher elevations above 9,000 feet. 7-day forecast could lead to some flurries for us here in Denver. I'm not going to talk about that all that much because if we saw anything here, we're going to get a northerly wind, which for us here in Denver is not a good snow wind. We want a northeast. We want an easterly component to that wind. We're not going to get that from that next storm. So that tells me that we're not going to be talking about much in the way of any sort of accumulation for us here in town. Also notice those temperatures, 43 degrees. There's, to me, just very little that tells me that we're going to get anything meaningful or of high impact here in town. Just a few flakes, maybe 6,000 feet or above, we get a little dusting to an inch or so. That's what we're talking about from that next system. And then next week, we're going to be spiking those temps. And I'll tell you what here, folks, pretty good chance that we end up with a 60-degree reading at some point next week. A lot of the computer models showing that. Month-to-date temperatures for us here in Denver, we are running nearly 9 degrees below average. Of course, that is all thanks to that 4 or 5 day horrible cold snap that we dealt with last weekend over the MLK Day weekend. That has us with our coldest start to January since 2007 for us here in Denver. Second coldest in the last 35 years and our 16th coldest overall. But we're going to really spike those temperatures. So right now we have one of our top 20 coldest Januaries on record. We're not going to finish anywhere close to that. We'll finish outside the top 50 because it's going to be so warm next week, with those highs getting into the 50s, 60s regularly for next week for us here in Denver. And also precipitation, it looks increasingly like we're going to be talking about pretty wet week at some point next week, probably middle to end part of the week. I think the beginning of the week should be dry, but we could be talking about one of those situations where it's the proverbial warm before the storm. When we get into the 60s this time of year, a lot of you weather geeks are going, uh-oh, that can mean something, and that is perhaps what's at play for next week. A lot of computer models getting a little excited about that kind of February 5th through 8th time period for us here in Colorado. Folks, it's January the 23rd, so this is 2 weeks out, and we're going down the rabbit hole a little bit here. But just give you a heads up that maybe mid to end part of next week is our next chance for really widespread active weather for us here in the Denver area and across most of Colorado. Snowpack right now 91% of a season-to-date average as of today. That is certainly good news as we made up a lot of ground. I mentioned this, went in detail on this yesterday, that we made up a ton of ground in terms of those snowpack numbers from where we were the first and second weeks of January with that MLK Day run of storms. That brought us from in the mid to upper 60s in terms of statewide snowpack percentage up to low 90s now. Now we're going to drop things off a little bit with this kind of warmer and drier pattern, but overall we're in a much better position than we were a month ago. And again, we're going to get some of that snow into our southern mountains. That hopefully will at least bring up some of those numbers as well. So overall, good news. We got some of that warmer, drier weather for us here in Denver for the next few days. Light winds will make it feel nicer as well. And then next week, we'll be talking about, I think, maybe some 60-degree readings for us here in Denver. That could be the warm before the storm. Stay tuned on that. But meantime, pretty nice weather for us here in the Denver area. I got a morning run-in today, and I'm sure plenty of you are finding your own ways to get outside on 50-plus degree days in the end of January. Once again, I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi. I'll have another update for you coming up at 9 News at noon at 2 p.m. here on 9 News Plus. And then we'll have Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin in at 4, 5, 6, 9, 10 tonight on the 9 News Family Networks. Once again, I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus.